Introducing the remarkable new iPhone XS. Sight boy, does it look like I talk like Johnny Ive? Anyway guys, welcome to my channel. I have a real good one for you guys. I know that a lot of people are in the market to buy a brand new iPhone this holiday season. And before I start, this video was inspired by my lovely mom Hilda, the woman who thought her phone was straight up broke, but turns out it was only on airplane mode, asked me if she should upgrade to the new phone. Like, come on, Hilda, of all people. The woman who can't figure out how to put in her order at the McDonald's kiosk asked me. So this was the inspiration for this video. I hope you guys enjoy.
It's the kind of beat to go.
Alright, my dudes, this isn't going to be an in-depth. This is kind of just the basics, you know, kind of layman terms, if you will, when it comes to the iPhones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the least expensive phone that Apple has to offer right now. That's the iPhone 7, and I will expand on that and basically try to tell you guys what the newest features are. So to get things started, we have the iPhone 7 and the 7 Plus. So the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus are both going to have a 4.7 or a 5.5 inch LCD screen. It's going to be powered by the A10 chip, which in today's standards, the A10 chip is still pretty strong. Now, this phone was a bit controversial since this was the first iPhone that removed the beloved headphone jack. So, as Apple described it, this move was bold or whatever. I thought it was pretty stupid, to be honest. It's really just Apple trying to force everyone into their Bluetooth headphones, the AirPods, which I do like, but I didn't like that Apple had to force me to buy them. It does sport Touch ID, and this is actually a fake home button. It's a capacitive home button, so it doesn't really move. It just vibrates and gives it the illusion like it's moving. All right, in the camera department, we're going to have a 12 megapixel camera. If you upgrade to the Plus model, you're going to have a 12 megapixel wide angle and telephoto camera. So it's really improved since you're going to have those two lenses. It does record up to 4K at 30 frames per second, and if you get the Plus model, you'll get higher zoom. That's 2 times the optical zoom or 6 times digital zoom. On the front, you're going to have a 7 megapixel FaceTime camera. All right, so there's our basis and our starting point for our guide. Moving on to the iPhone 8. Honestly, Apple, I didn't know what the hell you were thinking. You shouldn't have named this the iPhone 8. If anything, this phone is really the iPhone 7S and the iPhone 7S Plus. Very minute changes here. The only reason they called this the iPhone 8 is because it was overshadowed by the much more premium and impressive looking iPhone 10. So with that being said, let me tell you all of the differences. So you are going to have an A11 chip with a neural engine. So what the neural engine helps with is basically AI. It's kind of a way for your phone to learn your patterns. It also helps in augmented reality and Face ID. So that was introduced in this phone. You do also get 4K recording at 24, 30, or 60 frames per second, and you do also get wireless charging since you have a glass back now. Yep, that's all. That's all you're getting if you upgrade from an iPhone 7 to an iPhone 8. Now, let's move on to the much more impressive iPhone 10. So this stole the show last year when these phones were announced, which is why the iPhone 8 was able to get away with, one, the new name and such minimal upgrades. So the iPhone 10 has a 5.8 inch all-screen OLED display. So it looks really stunning, very beautiful in the hands. There's no doubt, hands down, this is one of the best looking smartphones on the market. We are going to have a dual 12 megapixel wide angle and telephoto camera. On the front, you're going to have a 7 megapixel true depth camera. This is where the Face ID sensors are going to be housed. So in order to unlock your phone with your face, you're gonna have to point the phone right at you. That's really important to consider when you're debating between the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 7, which both have the Touch ID sensor, or the iPhone 10, because you are gonna make a leaping transition away from Touch ID to Face ID and the removal of the home button. So that means that now you're gonna have to get used to all these gestures to move around your phone. The iPhone 10 was way ahead of its time. It set the bar so high for its competitors that a lot of people criticized the notch, but ironically enough, all of these other manufacturers started to put notches on their phones. Funny, right? All right, moving on to the iPhone XR. Now, this is an interesting one because in many ways, Apple went forward, but in a lot of other ways, they also went backwards. This is going to sport a 6.1-inch liquid retina LCD display. What liquid retina really means, who knows? So on the back, you're actually only going to have a single 12-megapixel camera. So the camera is almost identical to the camera on the iPhone 7, the regular 7, and the regular iPhone 8. The only real difference is that it's going to have smart HDR and all of those software exclusive perks like the bokeh effect. So in terms of camera, this is actually a downgrade from the iPhone 10. You are also going to have the same 7-megapixel true depth front camera, which of course is also going to have Face ID. So in this phone as well, you're not going to have Touch ID either. One of my biggest complaints with the iPhone XR is the removal of 3D touch. In its place is haptic touch. So no longer are you able to use that peek and pop feature or press harder on your phone to get different commands. Now it's a little different. That's all the bad things about the iPhone XR. If you think you're gonna get called broke boy by getting this phone, you're wrong. As a matter of fact, yes, this is Apple's budget model for this year, but it's actually the wisest choice if you're not really concerned with the best and greatest and if you don't want to engage stump mode. This is going to sport the A12 Bionic chip with the next generation neural engine. So the neural engine is much improved and the A12 Bionic chip is a monster. It is going to power through anything you throw at it. I guess the biggest downside to this phone is the screen, and I've said this multiple times, so the screen is definitely a downgrade. You're going to look at about 326 ppi, which stands for pixels per inch. That's the same as the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 8. So you're not going to get that AMOLED Super Retina screen that you're going to get on your iPhone 10 or 10s. Also, I forgot to mention that all the previous phones that I just mentioned, they're all going to be rated at IP67, which means that they are water resistant up to 1 meter for 30 minutes. So if you splash some water on this phone or drop it in your toilet, God forbid, you should be fine. Moving on to the big boys, the iPhone XS and the iPhone XS Max. These I'm actually going to kind of place together because you get the exact same phone. The only difference that you're getting is literally your battery size and your screen. Really, you're only getting a bigger phone. And that's about it. So the iPhone XS and the XS Max, I've said before, I skipped my lunch break to watch the keynote presentation of these phones. I didn't eat that day, and I was definitely let down. I was expecting a slew of new upgrades, something revolutionary, something we've never seen before, and all we got was a new color and a new size, basically. So that kind of sucked. These phones are going to be 5.8 inches and 6.5 inches AMOLED displays. The 6.5 inch is the biggest size Apple has ever offered on an iPhone. They both are going to sport that dual 12 megapixel camera, the wide angle and telephoto, and it is going to have the best camera on the market. It's going to have the smart HDR feature and all those software exclusives that I mentioned on the XR. So hands down, this has got to be the best camera on any smartphone, in my opinion. On paper, I do know that there are other cameras who definitely best this when it comes to specs, but man, these photos turn out phenomenal. Inside, we are going to have the A12 Bionic chip with the next generation neural engine as well, so it's going to have the same internals as the iPhone XR. Going to be rated at IP68 and going to have a pixel density of 458 pixels per inch. With all that information being thrown out at you, I know it can be kind of hard to digest everything, and I tried to simplify it and only highlight the biggest features that I think were important when considering picking up a phone in different generations. Now, when it comes to prices are definitely going to vary. iPhone 7 right now on Apple's website is the cheapest phone that they sell currently, starting at $449. So as you can see, these iPhones are definitely getting much more expensive over time, with the iPhone XS starting out at a whopping $1,099. Now, I did run some benchmarks as well and made this cool little graph for you guys. Now, I want you to notice from the iPhone 8, 8 Plus, and 10, which all have very similar benchmarks, the jump up to the A12 isn't that big when you compare the iPhone 7 generation to the iPhone 8. So like I said, from the 10 to the XS, it's minimal upgrades. If you are coming from an iPhone 10, I would advise to stay away from the XS. It's really small upgrades. It's really not going to be worth your money. I'd say if you're coming from a 10, definitely pick up the XS Max only if you want that bigger screen. I really do hope that I helped you guys choose the best iPhone for you. The holiday season is when Apple sells the most iPhones, and it's better to be informed before investing $1,000+ in your smartphone. If this is your first time to this channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, destroy that like button. As I always mention, I love all the support and I love all the feedback that I receive from you guys, so definitely drop a comment. Let me know what you'd like to see next, and I'll try my very best to make it happen. And with that being said, guys, I have a really exciting video coming up. As you may have noticed, I didn't mention batteries at all. That's because in the next video, I'll be having a battery drain test on all of these phones. So stay tuned. Catch you guys in the next one.